there's a look at downtown Los Angeles. LA, of course, known for its palm trees, movie stars, sunshine, and yes, champions. That's the Toyota Sports Center where we are as the Lakers begin their quest for that coveted three-peat. Yes, banners hang from the rafters like Christmas ornaments here all around. Jerseys and banners, plenty of talent in this building. This team loaded with talent. Well, some new and some old, plenty of old actually. Mark Fine alongside Norm Nixon. And Norm, I don't know that we've ever had less attention paid to a back-to-back championship team than we've got this year. Few changes for the Lakers, but one thing that won't change is a very good basketball team.
Well, I think Miami took all the headlines this summer. But again, this team is in familiar territory, and for sure for Phil Jackson, who's going for his fourth three-peat. So Phil has a lot to look forward to, and I think if you need anything to get you motivated, I think winning a third championship is something that can have you motivated.
Now, you know a little bit something about championships. We want to make sure we introduce you to my co-host here. If you're not familiar, maybe you forgot a little bit about his career. It wasn't that long ago, but
right, it was actually a long time.
two championships for you here wearing the Laker gold, and actually led the team in scoring in '82. 10-year career, averaged more than 15 points and 8 assists per game for the Lakers. Pretty impressive numbers, my friend.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I had a good time here. I had the opportunity to win championships here. Then I got traded across town to Siberia. Didn't win anymore, but we had a lot of fun here. And championships, what it's all about.
Well, you talk about those championships and the tradition here with the Los Angeles Lakers, because there are some franchises that just separate themselves, and this is one of those franchises.
Well, it starts at the top, and it starts with Dr. Buss. I mean, with anything else in any organization, you look at in football, you look at the Patriots. In baseball, you looked at the Yankees. But it starts with the top, and I think Jerry Buss has been a great owner. He paid when he had to. And, you know, Los Angeles is not a bad place to attract people as well. So when you have a great franchise, a great city, great fans, I mean, it's easier to get the talent here.
Well, let's tell you a little bit about what we're going to have for you today. Obviously, we call it Real Training Camp. You're going to get to see some practice. We're going to watch these guys. You've got Phil Jackson and the team behind us getting ready to go for their practice. We've got players mic'd. Ron Artest is wearing the microphone for us today. That is going to be interesting. And Sasha Vujicic wearing a microphone for us today as well.
Is there a 10-second delay on those mics?
No, there's not. We are live, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, it was a lot of fun for the Lakers last year on the road to that championship. As we take a little bit of a look at their record over or their run to repeating, you look at what they did in the postseason, winning the first round against the Thunder. You know, all of these series, but that first round against the Thunder is the one that really jumps out at me. What an exciting series that was to get them on their way.
I tell you, it was youth against the old veterans, and those young legs gave the Lakers fits. And I tell you, that is a very good team, and that's a team that I think the Lakers are really going to have to be concerned about this season.
Well, you look at that finals, 4-3 over the Celtics, a 7-game series that we will not soon forget. Let's take a look back now at the Lakers and the Celtics, 2009-2010 NBA Finals.
Yeah, at this point, the important thing is to win every game.
This is the finals. There's no more rules for mistakes.
Lakers and the Celtics. It just sounds right at this time of year. Artest knocks down the three. Final seconds, first half. Rondo's going to have to put it up. Rondo fires away. Knocks it down. There's a three. The Lakers take game one.
Definitely got to be more intense. Game two. Took some step backs in game one, but very bounce back game two. Right now.
Down fires a three. Knocks it down. Gasol inside. Counted and a foul. Stolen by Bryant. Bad pass. Puts up the three. Bang! Back out to Allen for three. Puts it in. And that's an NBA Finals record. Most threes in a Finals game. His 8th. That's going to do it. The Celtics are going to tie this series at 1 apiece. The TD Garden is packed. It's loud, and the Celtic fans are ready. Perkins blocked. Once again, the Lakers side stopping the Celtics. Garnett jumper knocks it down. Rondo to the basket, flips it up, banks it in. 1-point game. Fisher to the basket, gets hammered, and he puts it in. And the Lakers are going to regain home court advantage.
Good start is nice, and we proved that the other night. But a good finish is more important.
Back-to-back threes for Kobe Bryant. He's got that look right now.
Hey, listen up, listen up. Hey, let's finish the game. Finish the game.
Davis spin move for Bash. Backs it in. taking it to the basket on it. Take a stop. Davis the rebound, banks it in, and a foul.
Len Davis has completely turned the tide here in Game 4. And now this NBA Final has the makings of something really special.
Oh, Rondo with a little English off the glass. Bryant from way downtown. Bang! They lob it into Gasol. Oh, blocked by Tony Allen. He came from nowhere. Ball chipped up and in. Oh, what a play from Rajon Rondo. Nobody expected them to be one win away from winning it all. Rondo ahead to Garnett. Garnett, nice move inside. Just spots up. It's a three. Ron Artest. Shot it down. Wow. But what can Brown do for you? Jump out the building and finish. Make you look good.
Don't stand and watch this game. No time for spectating.
You know, in 20 years from now, we're going to come back and we're going to have this reunion party. And when we shake hands, let's make sure our rings touch.
It's a moment and a game that kids dream about. What a roller coaster ride these finals have been. Here's the drive, gets to the rim, blocked from behind. Wallace puts up the three, and go! Wallace from downtown. Artest, that's a three. Bang! The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles.
Kobe then and Kobe now. Kobe Bryant stretching out and getting ready for practice here today. And again, we're going to have practice for you as the Lakers get ready to go here on Real Training Camp. And Norm, a look at where he stands in terms of this franchise with his postseason marks as we just come off that little feature there about last year's finals.
Well, I tell you, Kobe is unbelievable. I mean, I had an opportunity to really watch him over the last 3 to 4 years, and I have a different respect for this guy. But the one thing he will always bring to the table, his work ethic. He works harder than anybody I've ever seen in the off season, and I think that's a lesson for all young ball players. As great as he is, he outworks everybody. And someone made an interesting saying, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And he's one of those guys that I think you have a problem
Write
beating.
that down. Hard work beats talent.
When talent fails to work hard. That's a great quote.
And another thing about Kobe is that he's played through injuries. That was one of the things that he did in last year's. But don't forget all those offensive numbers he puts up. He had to play through injuries. That's going to be one of the storylines as we go forward here this season, as we look at him again getting ready to go here today. Let's take a look back, though, first, again, as we set this up at some of the numbers. First of all, offensively for the Lakers. And again, much of the season, Kobe dealing with that finger injury, and yet they were still so strong offensively.
Well, you think about Pau Gasol missed the first part of the season. Kobe was hurt. Bynum was hurt. So this team dealt with a lot of injuries throughout the season. But if you know Phil Jackson, the regular season not what it's about. You want to get through the regular season and be in a good position and try to have everybody healthy for the playoffs. So this team didn't play as well as it did the previous year during the regular season, but they did what they had to do. They got in a good position. They had home court throughout the Western Conference. What? Yes.
And some of these numbers, though, tell you really about the style of play, I think, as much as anything. When you look at 24th in three-point percentage and 25th in fast breaks, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the thing I want to point out in terms of if that's not the type of basketball.
Well, one of my things is game is one inside out. Right. Anytime. Okay. It's one from inside out. You live by that jump shot, you die by that jump shot. I think that's one. When you think about Orlando Magic team, I think one of the biggest problems with that team, they lead the league in three-point field goals attempts. They're a great three-point shooting team, but they don't win the big games because when you rely on that type of shot, invariably you're going to die because of that type of shot.
And another saying is that championships are won with defense, right? And that's
Absolutely.
where the numbers have to be more impressive. As we take a look at the numbers for the Lakers defensively, you see, yes, these a little more impressive than the offensive.
Well, the defensive number, they will always go out there defensively. I think when you have that type of size, when you have 2 7-footers inside, it makes it very difficult for a lot of teams to get to the basket. And again, the game is won from inside out. And with the size that the Lakers have on the court most of the time, they do a pretty good job.
And what did they do this offseason? They go out and add Matt Barnes, a very aggressive defender, and Theo Ratliff, a guy that can block shots. So it shows you that they are aware what they are going to need. You take a look at Pau Gasol there, well rested. We're going to talk about all these guys. As there is Barnes getting ready for today's practice as we go through the course of this practice today. The other thing we got to talk about is this year ahead for the Los Angeles Lakers. A number of key games for them. We wanted to show you a few of those, but you talked about it. Really, it's a pacing through the regular season, right?
It's a pacing through the regular season. You want to have your your legs up on it. You want guys to play enough minutes, but you don't want to wear your team out during the regular season. And again, Phil has been one of the best coaches, and it's obvious because of his record, and pacing his teams and having them ready for the playoffs.
You know, as we look at these games, and of course we picked the ones that we thought were important. It just so happens they're all on national television, so I guess our folks behind the scenes knew what they were doing, and obviously the TV networks want to have the best games on. The first game jumped out at me, though, against the Suns on October 29th, because one of the big stories right now, Norm, is Andrew Bynum and his knee. Some questions as to whether or not he should have gotten knee surgery right when the season was done. He chose not to. There is a whole story there, but now the question is, when will he be ready? A little discrepancy between what Phil Jackson said yesterday. He's thinking maybe in October he'll be ready. Bynum said maybe not until the end of November, but that's going to be an important thing for this team when he does come back.
Well, let's talk about it. You're talking about a difference in 10 days. I think 10 days does not make a big difference in your season. When he comes back, if it's up to me, I hold him out until he gets healthy. The worst thing you can do is rush Andrew back and have him get injured. So if it takes him a little longer, I'm all for saying, take your time, big guy. Get back, get healthy, because it's more important for him to play the second half of the season, head into the playoffs, as we talked about earlier. So I think it would be very smart of Bynum and very smart of the Lakers to just allow him to get 100%, because you don't need him initially during the regular season.
And we're going to get a chance to talk with Mitch Kupchak about that, about his injury and the timing of his return. I think, again, there's a whole story there. We'll have time to share it and give kind of both sides to that story and see how it will affect the Lakers as they start this season. As you look at Phil Jackson, we're going to take a timeout, let him get ready to get the troops going. We will have, again, Ron Artest will have the microphone on for us today, as will Sasha Vujacic. We'll have interviews. We'll talk to the team, the people around the team. A lot of fun. Real training camp, L.A. Lakers style, continues after a quick timeout.
Take you through all my numbers. 15, my dad wore 51 in high school, so I changed it around. 15 in high school, 15 at St. John's, 15 in Chicago. My first year at Indiana, 15. Then I went to 23 for Michael Jordan. Then I went to 91 for Dennis Rodman, traded to Sacramento. Then I went for 93 for the 9 being a Q and the 3 being the uppercase V. Went to Houston, the 96, the 9 is a Q and the 6 is a lowercase v. And now I'm in L.A., and 37 represents the number of weeks that Thriller was #1, Michael Jackson's album, greatest selling album of all time. I spoke to some of his family members, and they was real happy, that I picked the number.
And now he's going back to his high school number again. He's going to wear that this year. And, boy, he knew every story behind every number, didn't he?
Well, he got a little Dennis Rodman in him. Dennis learned from Madonna, and so Ron has learned from Dennis.
and from Michael Jackson also, don't forget. Hey, he is a lot of fun. He certainly has added a different personality to this team, no question about that. But, hey, just like Rodman, he brings it on the basketball court as well, and was a very important part of what this team did last year.
Well, especially in the playoffs. I mean, the question was, do you keep Trevor Reeves or do you bring in Ron Artest? Trevor was a great defensive player. Quickness you can't replace. Artest came in with a different type of attitude, and he earned his money in the playoffs. Then offensively, he struggled throughout the year to try to find his place with this team offensively. They didn't need him to score. Other places, he had been the man. So he came here, now you're the third or fourth option offensively. I'm sure that was very difficult for him. But he came through big in the playoffs in some of the games, scoring. And defensively, he definitely had his hands full with the guys he had to look at.
And I think it is interesting when you talk about that kind of character, personality that he has. You never know how those guys are going to handle those situations. And as much as his play, his good, strong play was a key, that key in him understanding his role and buying into that role was huge for the Lakers.
Well, this is one thing everybody must understand. Championship teams police themselves. Dennis Rodman was not a problem with Chicago. He had Phil Jackson, he had Michael Jordan, he had Pippen. Ron Artest was not going to be a problem here. You had established veterans. You had Kobe, you had Pau Gasol, you had Lamar Odom, who was a childhood friend. So championship teams police that. And it's amazing how God can be such a maverick in other places and come into a championship situation and blend totally with the team. And Ron is example of that.
Yeah, and another great thing
that?
about what he has done in coming here, this is a guy who's decided he is going to auction off his championship ring. He needs to win another one because he's going to auction this one off for charity, and of course a lot to be said for that. You talk about